In the summer of 2022, as the world emerged from the shadows of a pandemic, a new kind of light began to spread online, not from the sun, but from millions of images that seemed to appear out of thin air. People typed words into a little box, pressed enter, and seconds later, pictures bloomed, galaxies of imagination, portraits of impossible beings, landscapes no camera had ever seen. The tool was called Stable Diffusion, and it carried within it the fingerprints of a man who believed creativity should not belong to the few, but to everyone. That man was Ahmad Mostake. Born in Jordan to Bangladeshi parents and raised in England, Ahmad grew up straddling cultures and perspectives. He was bookish, restless, and curious, a boy who devoured knowledge and believed the world could be bent by ideas. At Oxford, he studied mathematics and computer science, disciplines that taught him to see patterns where others saw noise. Later, he entered the world of finance, building a career in hedge funds. On the surface, it looked like success, sharp suits, trading floors, the hum of global markets. But inside, Ahmad wrestled with unease. The machinery of money was powerful, yet it seemed to him detached from the human stories that really mattered. By the late 2010s, he began to turn his gaze elsewhere. Artificial intelligence was no longer a curiosity confined to labs, it was advancing rapidly, shaping industries and stirring debates. But something about it troubled him. AI's promise was enormous, but its power was concentrating in the hands of a few tech giants with near-limitless resources. What if the future of creativity, knowledge, and expression was locked away behind corporate walls? What if ordinary people never had a say in how these machines shaped their lives? Ahmad carried those questions like sparks waiting for fuel. The fuel came when he encountered the early experiments in generative models, systems that could paint, write, and compose when given the right instructions. To him, this was not just technology, it was liberation. Here was a chance to tear down the barriers between imagination and creation. Anyone could dream, and the machine could give that dream form. He left finance behind and founded Stability AI, a company unlike any other in Silicon Valley's orbit. Its mission was audacious but simple, to build powerful AI models and make them open, free, and accessible. Where competitors hoarded their algorithms, Stability released theirs to the world. Where others spoke of control, Ahmad spoke of community. Creativity is a universal human right, he declared. And with Stable Diffusion, he set about proving it. When Stable Diffusion launched publicly in August 2022, the reaction was nothing short of electric. Suddenly, artists who had spent years mastering digital brushes found themselves collaborating with a partner that could conjure entire scenes in seconds. Students without formal training produced illustrations that looked ready for gallery walls. Small businesses discovered they could generate logos, ads, and product designs without paying for expensive agencies. For many, it felt like a magic trick. For Ahmad, it was simply the beginning. The internet exploded with experimentation. Social media feeds filled with surreal mashups, astronauts riding unicorns, cats dressed as medieval knights, portraits painted in the style of Van Gogh. But beyond the novelty, something deeper was happening. People who had never thought of themselves as artists suddenly realized they could create. Barriers that had stood for centuries, talent, training, access, were dissolving. The gatekeepers were gone. Not everyone celebrated. Professional artists feared for their livelihoods, worried that machines would devalue human craft. Critics raised alarms about copyright, bias, and misuse. Governments scrambled to understand what had been unleashed. But Ahmad remained steadfast. He acknowledged the challenges, yet he refused to see them as reasons to lock creativity back in the vaults of corporations. Instead, he argued, the answer was openness. By letting the world use, test, and shape these tools, humanity could learn how to guide them responsibly. The press painted him as a maverick, part visionary, part troublemaker. He spoke boldly, sometimes too boldly, about the role AI could play in reshaping economies, education, and society itself. But underneath the soundbites was a clear conviction that the future should not be written by a handful of executives in Silicon Valley boardrooms, but by billions of people with dreams of their own. Stability AI grew quickly, attracting investors and collaborators from around the globe. Teams of engineers refined the models, communities of users shared prompts and techniques, creating a new culture of AI-powered art. Ahmad traveled constantly, speaking to policymakers, educators, and creators, always with the same message: this technology belongs to you. What made Stability different was not just its technology, but its philosophy. In a world racing towards centralization, it offered decentralization. In a field obsessed with secrecy, it offered transparency. It was not without turbulence. Running an open-source AI company brought both financial and ethical storms. But for every critic who called it reckless, there were countless voices who saw in Stable Diffusion a chance to tell their story, to visualize their identity, to participate in culture in ways they never could before. For Ahmad, the mission was always bigger than himself. He often spoke of his son, of the kind of world the next generation would inherit. Would it be one where machines were tools for all, or weapons in the hands of a few? Would creativity expand, or shrink? In his mind, Stability AI was not just a company but a moral stand, a reminder that technology, like art, was meant to be shared. By the mid-2020s, Stable Diffusion had become more than a tool, it was a movement. Universities adopted it for research. Filmmakers used it to storyboard scenes. Nonprofits used it to create educational materials for children in places where textbooks were scarce. The ripple effects reached everywhere. What once required money, connections, and training was now available with a keyboard and curiosity. And yet, Ahmad knew the story was still being written. The challenges were immense: legal battles, business pressures, the ever-growing complexity of the models themselves. But he welcomed them. If this were easy, he once remarked with a smile, it wouldn't be worth doing. In the end, the legacy of Ahmad Mostake and Stability AI may not lie in balance sheets or valuations, though those were impressive enough. It may not even lie in the specific images generated by Stable Diffusion, as beautiful and bizarre as they were. The legacy may lie in something quieter but more enduring, the moment when millions of people realized that creativity was no longer locked behind talent, privilege, or permission. For centuries, humanity had looked at art as a gift of the few. Ahmad helped the world glimpse another possibility, that imagination could be universal, that technology could serve as brush, canvas, and stage for anyone bold enough to dream. As he often said, the future of AI should not be about replacing people. It should be about empowering them. And with every new image summoned from the void, every vision given form, that future seemed just a little more possible.